Welcome everyone to race 4 of the IRS GT4 Championship Series. We're here at Catalunya. We've got 11 cars on the grid. Let's run through your order. Starting in pole, Timlour, who, despite having the full 5% ballast weight increase, still managed to lock down pole. Second position, we've got Mo Power. He's not carrying any ballast, so as we can see, the field's starting to get mixed up by the ballast. In third on the grid, we've got Moby 45. In fourth, we've got Whitey 093, not carrying any ballast. Moby does have a small amount of ballast. He actually had a reduction this week due to finishing off the podium last week. In fifth, we've got Base, who's not carrying any ballast. He's back to square one. Sixth, Led the Iron, also had a ballast reduction due to finishing off the podium, but I still believe he's got at least 2% on board. Seventh, we've got Gentleman Racing carrying 3% ballast, thanks to an additional 1% from finishing on third in our last race at Brands Hatch. Eighth, we've got Kanita, no ballast. Willow, no ballast. Drummer 79. And 11th, we've got RRDZ, no ballast. RRDZ celebrated a birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to him. So sorry about that, I probably picked up that up on the mic, rubbing my hands together in excitement. Yeah, it should be an interesting race. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the overhead names, and I'm going to activate the race info again. I'm going to probably most likely continue covering the bottom half of the screen, the lower part of the screen, which shows tire wear and all that, with an overlay, just to keep you viewers in suspense. Should be an interesting race up front. The lap times were close. Timlour is going to be really fighting to keep some of these guys with carrying no ballast behind him, and all the while managing his tires, keeping up the pace. It should be interesting. Coming up on the start, should be forming up. Coming up to start finish. Grid's not really forming up too tightly there. Close enough. And they're off. Down into turn one. See, you got a gaggle of cars. As many as 6. 4 wide. Oh boy. And there we have it. Oh, RRDZ pushes Moby off track. Looks like Moby picked up some right front suspension damage. Lap 1, turn 1. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that happen. Let's see. Moby's adept at driving, though. Let's see if he can stay with this lead pack at least until the pit stop. Would be probably disadvantageous for him to go in and pit to get repaired right at the end of lap 1. We'll see if he sticks around and toughs it out. Let's go up front with Timlour. Led struggling a little bit through the long right-hander. Showing his pace here. If he can manage to stay in front of this group the first pit. He stands to be in good shape, which does not bode well for the rest of the field going forward, because he'd most certainly be the most dominant driver. No repeat winners as of yet here in the series. Race 1 won by Lead drawing near that 5% ballast on the Corvette, helping Lead stay. Oh, he takes him to the inside, makes the move stick, gets back onto the preferred racing line. Mo Power looking to see if there's an opening. Timlour makes a mistake, which is highly unlikely. Alright, Timlour. As you can see, a 5-car pack. You could throw a blanket over all 5 cars here. Moby nursing that the damage to that right front suspension, but hanging tight on Whitey's tail here. Damage set to heavy, so that damage isn't gonna fix itself in this first fuel stint. It's going to have to manage it the whole time, and then lose a few seconds depending on how heavy that damage is when he pits for tires. Lead holding on to the lead. Timlour not falling back all that far though, considering the weight disadvantage. And we know the Cayman is good on fuel, so perhaps Lead's strategy is to get up front, save some time in the pit, and extend what little gap he may develop between now and whenever he pits. We know the driver of the other Cayman, on a couple of occasions, he's pitted extremely early as the start of lap 10. You're going to be going 23 total laps. Lap 1 was the formation lap, so 22 racing laps really. So we'll see if Moby continues that trend. Really, probably would have worked for him last time had he not had a few off-track excursions, which Base and Gentleman Racing took advantage of back in race 3 at Brands Hatch. We shall see. Haven't seen this many cars racing this closely early in the race as of yet, and we gotta give credit to the ballast system that we have employed in this series for what we're seeing here. Oh, and Moby, perhaps as a result of a little instability due to the damage, has picked up a 1-second penalty. It's track limits penalty. Burned off a 10th, 2 tenths, 3 tenths. Burns off 4 tenths, which is going into turn 1. Yeah, so it's track limit set to weak. So really not something that's it's not gonna impose massive penalties unless somebody like blatantly cuts through a chicane at speed and keeps going. Usually these are little minor off tracks that can be burned off throughout the course of the race, but still they get in your head a little bit, and they can determine a position. the outcome at the end of a race, if two drivers are really close, and the front the driver in front's got, you know, a half-second penalty. But it doesn't happen too often. Let's go back up front, because this is where it's at right here. Timlour trying to get into the head of Led the Iron here. Really good, close, tight racing. Tires starting to show some wear, a little bit higher wear rate for Led than for Timlour and the other cars in this little pack of 5. Pounding those curbs through the chicane. All right, start of the lap. Let's go on board with Timlour. Oh, he sits down low, huh? I don't know if that's the setting he actually has. It may just be what the game offers us when we're in replay mode. Ooh, a little looseness on Led's part. Gets slightly off the racing line. Has to gather it up. And we've been on board with Timlour before. Very smooth driver. Smooth downshifts, inputs. Not a lot of fighting with the wheel. Let's see if we can take a look. You can see the rest of the pack in the rear view. Adjust that camera view a little bit. See as many as 4 cars within a second of this duo here. Timlour careful to avoid rear-ending Led in these braking zones. Lifts and coasts a bit. Nice smooth gear changes. Here comes Mo Power. Gets alongside Timlour, taking advantage of not having any ballast and the massive torque that the Mustang affords drivers. Will he make it stick? No, backs off. Led the Iron with a little lockup. Front right locks up a bit. And Timlour goes wide. It's a wide entry. Mo Power sneaks inside. Again, my apologies to the rest of the field. This is just such a tight competition here that Timlour, smart, stays with the outside line knowing that it eventually turns into the inside line and holds on, takes back second. I think right now we can run through the order. First, we've got Led the Iron. Second, we've got Timlour. Third, we've got Mo Power. Fourth, we've got Whitey. Fifth, we've got Moby, still nursing that half a second penalty. Sixth, we've got Base. Seventh, we got Gentleman Racing. Eighth, Kanita. Ninth, Willow, not far behind. And back to the front. Looks like we lost RRDZ and and Drummer 1979. Hate to see that, but understandable. Maybe a connection issue, maybe mechanical issue. From what we understand, RRDZ may have been feeling a little under the weather after celebrating the 21st birthday. So again, happy birthday, buddy. Enjoy. Being under the weather is somewhat of a rite of passage, isn't it? All right, get well soon. So Led maintaining a little gap whilst Mopower and Timlour battle. And it has to be said, Timlour defends nicely, stays very predictable, occupies the optimal line. Really not giving Mopower very many options other than what we saw earlier going through turn 3. And now he's back, closed up the gap to Led. He's back on him. Let's check Led's tires. Yes, about twice the amount of wear that Timlour's got on the front end. Defends the inside. Led does. Timlour still on the optimal line, so he gets a better exit. Able to stay with Led. Probably content to stay with Led. And Mopower just hovering back there. Oh, Whitey! Whitey gets the tire in the sand, gets to the chicane, gets through it all squarely, but knowing Moby was right behind him, is sure to re-enter safely. Kind of we're 3 wide, going down into turn 1. Gentleman Racing Base Edition, Whitey trying to hold on to that 5th and go back after Moby. Caught a penalty. Had a half a second penalty for his adventures through the chicane. Managed to get it down to 2/10. Yeah, so now we've got this little pack developing. Gentleman Racing, just sniffing around with his additional weight, hoping to stay with base. It's back to the front. Yeah, looking like Led is managing the tires. Oh, Timlour gets on one side, going into the right-hander. It's got the better line. With the shallow entry, will it allow him? Yes. Yes. Will he stay inside and defend? He does. Looks like Led is stuck on the outside. Mopower. Does he make no contact? Very nice racing. Very nice racing by the top 3. Oh, and a little contact though. Some argy-bargy there. Oh, and Led shuts the door down into the chicane. Led holds on to second. No harm, no foul with the argy-bargy. Oh! And then we've got Moby pulling into the pits. Gonna get that damage fixed, some tires, some fuel. Will that hurt him? Led and Timlour, meanwhile, going into turn 1. Timlour took the lead for a split second. Mopower trying to go on the outside, using all that torque. Led trying to fight him off. Mopower still on the outside. What? Oh, more contact. And Mopower takes the lead now. Here on lap 10. Mopower in the lead. Led in second. Timlour in third. Whitey has caught up to the group now, which has also brought Base and Gentleman Racing into the fray. Let's remember Moby 45 is pitted. That's why he's not part of this group here. So as these cars come in, we'll have to see how the pit stop order rearranges things. We're sure Moby's just trying to click off fast laps to see if he can do the undercut. Mo Power opens up a healthy lead. Once he's taken the lead, he's got it pretty healthy. If he can keep this up going into the pit, whoa, goes wide. If he can keep this up, or maybe even open up this gap, picks up a half-second penalty after going wide through the final turn there. Not good, not what you want. You want to open up this gap and give yourself some cushion for the pit stops, particularly with this guy chasing you, Timlour, Whitey. Looks like Lead is pitted as well. Lead coming out of the pits. Will Moby get him? Lead. So Lead comes out ahead of Moby. Moby looked like he lost some time. That's due to the repairs to the suspension. Back up front, Mo Power still has that gap looks like it shrunk maybe a couple tenths. Tire wear is a little bit higher than some of the competitors behind him, so he's got to manage this car. Get it through the rest of the lap. Bring her in. Car's getting a little squirrely. Timlour, Whitey, 2 Corvettes, all Americans up front, all American makes up front. Oh, and he runs wide through the right-hander. Sure to pick up time there. Oh, burns the first half of the chicane, goes off track, re-enters. Oh, no. Sends Timlour into the barrier and base as well. Base backs into the wall. He's picked up damage. Timlour sure to have picked up damage. P5, he was able to make it in the pits with Gentleman Racing. So we've got Whitey in the lead, Mo Power in second, Base in third with heavy damage to the rear. He was beyond the pits, didn't have the option to go in. We've got Lead in fourth, Kaneda, Moby, Gentleman Racing exiting the pits now. Comes out ahead of Willow. And in ninth, we've got Timlour, who, the front end's all scratched up. He went head first into the barrier and somehow was able to bring it into the pits. Luckily, that spared him, because he would have had to go the whole lap. With that damage, would have lost a ton of time. So, fortunate in his misfortune. Hate to say that. Timlour is a heck of a competitor. So we'll see how he recovers. There's still some drivers yet to pit. Whitey's got a pit. Mo Power's got a pit. Base, we know, generally goes long. Lead's been in. Kaneda, we're not sure of. We think he'll come down somewhere around 8th in the order. Moby's pitted, and Gentleman Racing has, so work to do for Timlour. Whitey comes in, as does Mo Power. Base has got damage, so we suspect. Oh, he stays out. Just adhering to that running long policy in the first stint. Is Base. So we've got Base in the lead, carrying damage. Lead's sure to shrink the gap since he's already pitted. Kaneda third, Moby fourth, And then Whitey comes out ahead of Mopower, who has not pitted. And so when he does, he's going to lose that position. Mopower's going to lose that position to Gentleman Racing. Just check Mopower's fuel level real quick. No, he has pitted, so we'll see. See what Gentleman Racing can do. Perhaps close the gap. Yeah, just base has got to be coming in at the end of this lap. So our leaders will be led. Moby, who no longer has damage, got it all repaired, and he's back in the mix of things due to that chaos on lap 11. You can see Whitey there in the background. Kaneda up as high as 5th, really stretching the fuel, so he's yet to pit, and we're on lap 13. Yep, here comes Base. Base entering the pit. So here are our leaders. Led the Iron, Moby. Surprise, surprise. The Cayman. 2 cars up front. Led the Iron, Whitey. Moby led the Iron, Whitey, and Mopower a few seconds back. So if these 3 cars get to battling one another, Mopower may be able to close that gap a little bit. Gentleman Racing up in 5th from 7th, thanks in large part to just trying to hang close and overtaking Timlour and Base when they came into collision with Mopower on the end of lap 11. So picking up 2 positions thus far. See what else he can do by just hanging tough. His cars up front running into 153s now. 154s. .51 there, last lap for Whitey. And Mopower as well. And we got Gentleman Racing just hanging in the 153s. Kudos to Moby 45. Caught damage, turn 1, lap 1, nursed it through for 9 laps, got it repaired, and there he is in the lead. After hanging for a few laps with that 5-car pack we had up front. Trying to keep lead from catching his draft. Yeah, we can see the damage there. Just see the damage there from RRDZ, the orange Viper having struck him in turn 1. We buffed that out. Led and Whitey work together. They can reel Moby in. See if they do it. Neither one of them's looking particularly aggressive against each other, so it might be what they're looking to do. Moby just looking to close that gap. Distant 5th. Gentleman Racing. Moby, 1/10 of a second penalty. That's totally inconsequential. One little lockup, slightly offline, you can burn that right off. And you may be thinking, so what's the point of running it? The point of running it on weak track limits is just to keep people honest, because although everybody here is a clean driver, don't have a tendency to take advantage of track limits, it's better to have just disclosure. It's not tough to avoid those track limits and have a clean race. The hardest part about getting a clean race is just avoiding contact. Oh, Moby locking up right front again. Tires on all three front runners look good. Best of all is Whitey. Tires are looking really good. Well, he might be trying to keep him in good shape so he can be a little more aggressive in attack towards the closing laps. Looked like Whitey was going to make a move to the inside there, but maybe just trying to get out of that dirty air. Although I've heard or I've read in forums to the contrary, the game does, at least to me, seem to simulate dirty air, aero wash. So I notice it when following closely. Got to alter braking points and maybe lift and coast a little bit. High-speed corners to get some push. So if you're watching and you disagree or you don't notice it, feel free to throw in the comments what you think about it. I know some of you have come back, watch some of these events and see how things develop. So be bashful. We'll be holding on, going into start of lap 17. Led in second, Whitey in third. Full power closing the gap for fourth. Gentleman Racing. I think just content at this point to even be in fifth. Being haunted now by Timlour and Base making up some time now after fixing the car up, taking a little bit of fuel. Very fuel efficient, that Base Edition guy. I gotta see if he can share some insights on how to be so fuel efficient. Certainly don't think he's doing anything untowards like what maybe the Ferrari F1 team has been accused of by Max. But I digress. Let's stay with our leader here. Get a little squirrely there. Maintaining this little gap for a while now. Whitey locking up, Lead locking up. Oh, RG. This may be exactly what Mopower wants. So Whitey shuts the door on Lead after a little RG getting by, going through the chicane. Yep, cleanly. No one carrying any penalties, looks like. We've gone 18 laps, nearly well over 30 minutes of racing here with, well, initially we had 5 cars within striking distance of another. Now we're down to 4 cars within striking distance. The only one we lost was Timlour with his issues on lap 11 with Mopower, not Mopower. So easy to say Mopower. But it's Mopower. Oh! And Mo Power, we didn't see it, but Mo Power comes into collision with Lead. Does the right thing, slows and lets Lead back by. That's 2 incidents. So I missed it on screen, my excitement about the leaders. What we had was basically Lead was running a little wide through turn 3, and it looks like in Mo Power catches his driver's side rear quarter, spins him into the sand. Mo Power waits, lets Lead go ahead by. Oh, and there's another love tap. Everybody's tires are dirty. It's a mess. This lets Base back in to this fray here. So we got, and in the confusion, Gentleman Racing makes his way up to 3rd from 7th on the grid. Was very happy to be in 5th, but grabs 2 more positions. Timlour, if you recall, got put into the barrier at the pit wall on lap 11, is now back up to 4th thanks to the issues between Mo Power and Lead. And now Lead and Mo Power with Base breathing down their neck. And Lead, as a result of that contact, Lead is carrying heavy damage to the rear end of the car and the passenger side, or the right rear suspension. As we can see, he's wiggling back and forth. That's not voluntary. See the damage on the car. Lead flashing the lights. It's a little bit of the red mist, I would have to think, at this point. Yep, I think the stewards are going to be reviewing both those incidents on lap 11 and the lap 18 involving Mo Power, Lead, Timlour, and Base. We've been fortunate to not have too many incidents, and really, when really looking at the incidents, there hasn't been anything intentional, but anytime you have an impact on another driver's race, there should be some consideration of that and what the potential outcome could have been. And here we have Whitey and Moby left to battle it out with one another. Moby grabs the lead. I mean, really, a bumper difference. Whitey now grabs the lead. Moby's got it back. Moby locks up the right front. Little puff of smoke. Whitey settles in behind them, going through turn 3. Let's go on board with Whitey. Ooh, Whitey sits low in the cockpit as well. It's a Corvette thing. Gangsterine going on. Ooh, on the outside. Makes his move. Impressive. Impressive. Tire wear just about even for these two drivers, so this is a straight up fight here. Nope, neither one's got any damage. Oh. Again, it should be noted that Whitey's not carrying any ballast whatsoever. He's got the car in the original weight BOP standard, and Moby is carrying a little bit of ballast. I believe it's 2%. I'll have to check. I gotta do a better job getting prepared for these races. Let's see, is Gentleman Racing still holding down third position? Already at plus 3%. Wait, if he holds this, he'll pick up another 1%. I'm sure he'll be ecstatic about that. But, you know, that's offset by the points he's going to get. He's looking right to get about 18 points out of this race with only one drop race on his record so far. Timlour, no damage other than there's some scrapes and bumps. Maybe a little whiplash. Just close the gap a little bit. Two laps left. These races, they go by so quickly. Looking to make some changes for season 3 of the GT4 Championship presented by IRS. Some of the ideas by the organizers have been discussed. Races may be a little bit longer, maybe 1 hour. That'll require an adjustment to tire wear and fuel settings to make sure we're looking to do a race where everybody's got to stop at least once. So lots of testing to do still before we get anywhere near season 3, since we're only going to be wrapping up race 4 of a 10-race season that's live now. Whitey doing well to hold off Moby. Moby catching a sniff of that draft. Lap 22 of 23. See Gentleman Racing there in the background. Still holding off third. Timlour being chased by Mo Power. Base sniffing around as well. That off track for Base when he got into side-by-side contact into the last turn back on lap 11 really cost him some time as well. At least 4, 5, maybe more than that. He was in the sand, so it's been interesting to see what he could have done with his go-along strategy, and then picked up damage on top of that. So our first controversial race. As I mentioned, the stewards are looking at all those incidents and post up their decision in the coming days here. You gotta remember, it's a one-man operation, so gotta be sure to get it right. Don't want to get people upset. It's a friendly competition, but it's competition nonetheless. And Whitey looking good through the chicane. Cars looking nice and stable. Tires are looking exhausted, but he's managing it. Moby's awfully close to cutting it awfully close on fuel. Final lap. Just gonna stay with the leader. See if Moby makes any inroads. We don't think he's running full fuel power at this point. It's possible he had to dial it back a little bit because he's awfully low. Or maybe he calculated the amount of fuel he needed down to the ounce. Which was good if he did that. Down to the milliliter for you metrics users. Matrix. So we stand, the way it stands right now, we're looking to get our 4th different race winner in 4 races. Locking up, puffs of smoke. There we have it. Through the chicane onto the final turn. And there you have your winner. Takes the checkered flag. Whitey 093, second place. Moby 45, third. Looks like Gentleman Racing is going to hold off Timlour, Mo Power, and Base to secure third place. Timlour 4th, Mo Power 5th. And Base Edition 6th. Led the iron, never recovered. Really after lap 18, he was in the mix, but after being put off in turn 3, he really suffered after that. Willow and Kanita neck and neck here. Nice battle of the Acuras. Willow 8th, Kanita 9th. And thanks for joining us.